Welcome to Beer Buds of the Big Sky podcast, where Montana common sense collides with national nonsense, politics, culture, freedom, and the occasional hot take served cold, just like your beer. If you're easily offended, this probably isn't the podcast for you. Beer Buds of the Big Sky, pull up a chair, grab a drink, and let's get into it. For tonight, we have our regular host, Steve Quinnell.
Hey, how's it going? I just want to give a big shout out to Christy Jacobson. She was congratulating herself all over the place this week on her Facebook page and her Instagram for Montana's $12.6 million in coal revenue. Thank you for leading us right into the future with your our reliance on coal. And then the other big one, she was heartily patting herself on the back this week for rooting out 23 voter irregularities in our voting rolls from over 750,000 registered voters in Montana. They found 3 irregularities. Most of them were clerical errors. People had entered the wrong thing, or when they registered, they clicked the wrong box. But there is maybe some evidence that 1 or 2 of these people voted illegally.
And it's a big problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. That's 0.003% of our voting. So basically, Montana spent just over $2 million to confirm what we already know, and this is across the country. What we already know is that voter fraud is exceedingly rare, and it does not affect elections. So thank you, Christy, for spending our money for something that we already know.
And Christy, he thinks you're hot.
And our fill-in host tonight, our guest who lost the biggest nutbag in the state, John Repke.
Wow, that's a nice introduction. Yeah, I'm a fill-in for Mike Jopek, so those are big shoes to fill. I was actually at home expecting a call either to front Dead & Co. or run Venezuela, but I ran into ad and now I'm doing this.
Yeah,
Third best option.
Third best.
it pays best here.
And our guest we have tonight, Tristan Scott, editor of the Flathead Beacon.
Well, first off, R.I.P. Bobby Weir.
Yeah, we're having a party at the tap house.
Yes.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Why
knew
am
you
I
would
always
like
the
that.
last to know? Oh.
Because I didn't want you to know.
Because my tab is way over $1,000 now.
But with that homage paid, I'm Tristan Scott. I'm the managing editor of the Flathead Beacon. We are a local independent media organization, and I'm happy to join, I think, what will be a robust conversation about local media and perhaps some national politics. Thanks for having me.
You think?
Hey, thanks for coming.
And our fearless leader, Ed Doctor.
I think it's time to declare war on stupid, boys. I do. I mean, we're trusting politicians a little too much now. I do. I really think it's time to declare this war and just start it and try to end it and maybe educate some people. I mean, we all watch the news. We all see what's going on. We all listen to Christy Noem. We see an officer shoot somebody, an American. I mean, I don't get it. And it's like the people that are supporting it, it's hard for me to feel like they're not stupid. Even though I watch the arguments and I see, people are like, well, he was in harm's way. He went to the hospital. He had internal bleeding. And I'm like, okay, we all saw this. How would he get internal bleeding? He ate a fucking shit ton of Taco Bell and went to Chipotle for dessert or something. That's how he got internal. It was not from this shooting. I don't think.
By their definition, a bruise is internal bleeding. That's basically what happened.
I guess, you know what? I guess you're right. Okay, well, I think tonight's going to be a lot of fun because we do have Tristan with us. He's the managing editor of the Beacon, and you've been there. You must have been there since the beginning almost, right?
Not quite. Flathead Beacon was founded in 2007, and I joined in 2013.
Oh, okay.
But our editor-in-chief, Kellen Brown, has been there from the beginning.
Wow.
Since he was a 20-something kid, and our founders, Maury Povich and Connie Chung, who are still our owners.
Oh, they are? Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. They poached Kellen, who at the time was the city editor of the Bozeman Daily Chronicle, brought him to the Flathead, and he kind of cobbled together a dream team of local journalists, and I was lucky enough to join in 2013. So I've been there a while.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's a cool paper. I mean, it just is. It's cooler than the other papers. I think most people would say that.
Yeah, it was great. We're like, oh, cool.
Are you digital only now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're digital only. We still publish specialty publications, so we publish a quarterly lifestyle magazine.
Okay.
And a seasonal guide to Glacier National Park. And so we still have these specialty print products, but in terms of news and being able to keep pace with the news cycle, we just weren't able to do it anymore as a weekly print paper.
Well, I'm assuming you probably had to hire out the printing. And I'm assuming those costs have gone up like everything else has the last 4 or 5 years, you know?
Sure. And during COVID, advertising dollars contracted, print costs were going up. But also, we just thought that it would be a better use of our resources to really pour ourselves into, again, sort of adapting to this new metabolism and keeping pace with a news cycle, both local and statewide and national.
Yeah.
That is has dramatically increased in scale and pace.
It's the future. I think it's funny when I said, I think, man, we should probably do maybe an ad in the Beacon or something. And I, of course, went to ChatGPT and stuff. And what's the best way for the podcast to advertise? It's like digital. I'm like, should I advertise a paper? No. I'm like, oh man, like what? But it's like this is what our podcast people and younger people. That's what they're turning to. Everything's digital. And it's funny. I read more of the Beacon now than I ever have that it does come through on my scroll. Crazy. Because I would never, I'd get it because it was always free at the gas station. And I get it. I'd have some at the bar and stuff, But rarely would I read a full article like I do now that I see it digitally. Yeah. It's cool.
You know what the hardest part is that it's really hard to roll up the digital version and stick it in my wood stove to start a fire.
Right.
Yeah, you can't line your cat box with our online platform. But we have been, because I appreciate you saying that, but a large segment of our readership was really dedicated to that print edition, and we serve.
And it was free too. Let's not forget that.
And it still is. We have no paywall online, and none of our specialty pubs are cost anything. It's all free. But we are really fortunate that our audience has stuck with us through this transition from print to digital. And I think through building subscriptions to our newsletter, which I think still sort of serves as a roadmap to what can be an overwhelming amount of online content. People have really responded to that and continue to support the Beacon just as they did when we were a weekly print edition. Yeah,
my biggest fear was that you guys were going to go away during COVID when the print edition stopped. I was like, boy,
I remember that being like, what?
This?
Sure, and certainly, if you follow the industry, that can be a canary in the coal mine. But in our case, and we spent a lot of time, visiting with Rotary clubs and talking to the community, that that we have every intention of being around as a local news organization into the future, and that this was a step to improve our ability to cover issues that are impacting communities throughout Northwest Montana.
Well, your stories, your editorials are all better than the Interlake. They just are, in my opinion. It seems like you've got more in-depth coverage of things that are going on, and just really good stories from good writers, and the Interlake, of course, I don't know how many papers that company owns now. I mean, they own the Pilot now in Whitefish, right? And Hungry Horse News, don't they? Yeah. So the Interlake owns all the other media except for the Beacon and the Hagedon. Yeah. And then you've got a few statewide papers like the Standard and
the Missoulian and the Independent.
Well, I mean, but that's Missoula and Helena, but the Standard and the Daily Montanan, and that's digital only, isn't it? Right. I believe.
It is, and it's a nonprofit news organization, whereas the Interlake,
that's right, it is. Yeah,
the Interlake and the Pilot and the animal papers are owned by Hagedon, and then the statewide papers that you just referred to, the Missoulian and the Montana Standard and the Helena IR, and the Billings Gazette are owned by Lee Enterprises.
Those are all Lee. Okay, yeah, that's right.
And so again, I can't emphasize this enough that we've remained an independent news organization since our founding in 2007, and that's really important to us.
And have you found more people visiting you online statewide then, now that that's your main platform and don't have the I mean, it seems like it'd be easy,
Well,
it seems
certainly
easier to spread out.
We've always had an online presence, but
Yeah.
again, because it takes so much effort to put out a weekly print edition, we were unable to sort of metabolize the news in a way that
Yeah.
I think people expect now when they
Right.
go to and so since we've really built ourselves into a digital first and digital forward news organization, we have noticed that our certainly our online readership has grown, and it's expanded to include statewide readership. And that's in part because we cover statewide politics.
right,
I mean,
yeah.
We go to the legislature, we go to Helena, we cover the sessions. We have good relationships with our elected lawmakers, and we're proud of that because
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you mentioned described us as cool, or I think people sometimes think of the Beacon as an alternative newspaper. But we never really wanted to be that.
No,
we just wanted to be
like The
another
Stranger or
source
something.
of
Like
news.
you've gotten that kind of rep, but yeah.
But we're light on. We're not slinging barbs.
No, you're news. I mean, yeah, no, it's not like these other indie papers that you see around for sure.
Right, and we like to think that we punch above our weight, but at the same time, we do stand out as the largest source of independent news in western Montana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Are you
Well,
you come to a round table, right? You're gonna cover that.
Yeah.
Do you know the debates in Butte is the day after?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Jesse Mullins' debate he's putting on. And I think all the candidates confirmed to do that too.
What is that for? Is that congressional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be. I'm sure Russ and
Zinke's not gonna
Ryan and Sam
If we see him before the election, it'll be in the grocery store or at the bar.
or the bar.
Like, he'll do what he did like last time. He'll come to the bar, start coming to the Northern 2 weeks before the election.
Yeah, they
Start
sold.
buying people
I heard it
drinks.
sold already.
Yeah.
The Northern?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
we
let's-
gotta get going.
Everybody's like,
so in
okay.
this day and age,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy being a writer, working for the press. When I look at things, it seems like our First Amendment is getting torn apart. And when I see the president of the United States suing media outlets, from your perspective, what's going on with that? What does the guy that's in the media company think about? Is it nerve-wracking? I know we're in Montana, but still, it's a weird thing. Our First Amendment seems to be deteriorating.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a member of the press, I really can't overstate my belief in the sanctity of the First Amendment.
I can see that, yeah.
But one of the things I think that's interesting is that neither can most Americans. It's a fundamental right that protects our freedom of expression, our freedom to peacefully assemble, our freedom to practice religion and faith. So it's a core pillar of our freedom.
Right.
But we have to take stock, even objective journalists have to take stock of the fact that we live in unusual times. We're living in a political climate in which the President of the United States is actively and aggressively attacking the press. This administration is using government power to pressure social media companies to censor speech, threaten media outlets with punitive actions, like defunding PBR and
PBR.
That should be a bumper sticker.
Freudian slip for this
Defund
podcast.
PBR.
But of course, I meant PBS and NPR. But also targeting, non-media institutions like law firms representing people whose ideas run counter to the White House. And
Well, didn't they just send the FBI in a raid on a journalist who was covering the Pentagon, and one of her
didn't hear about
sources had
that.
been leaking information. Yeah, this was just yesterday.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep. So
Did you hear about
this is
that
a
yesterday?
Washington Post reporter
Whoa.
who has spent much of the past year convincing sources within the federal government to speak to her about reductions in workforce and really a lot of policies and actions that have roiled the federal government and also suppressed a lot of federal workers' from speaking
Right.
openly to
Right.
the press because they fear retaliation. And so the FBI took the not unprecedented but very unusual step of raiding this journalist's house, looking for the
Fuck, that's scary.
something like 1,069 sources that she said spoke to
Yeah.
her off the record in order to share information about what's
So now
happening.
they know who all these people are. The FBI.
Well, we don't know what
Right.
the
We don't know what they
FBI
got
found,
yet,
but the fact that this journalist's was that her home was
Right.
was raided
Was
in
attacked, yeah.
I mean,
Virginia.
I'm assuming she didn't see it coming. You know, maybe she protected that stuff. I don't know.
Was there any legal protection to confidential sources? I mean, does the press have,
Well, there used to be, I'm sure.
or, I mean, on what basis did the FBI do this?
Well, they claim national security on just about everything. So
Okay.
I'm sure they were. That's what they were claiming. So, yeah. But yes. The answer to your question is yes. There are legal. I don't know what they are, but you might. Do you know what they are, Tristan, off the top of your head? I don't know what they are off the top of your head, but yeah, that journalists have a right to not have to.
Yeah, they don't have to
Reveal
disclose
their
source.
sources.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, we protect the confidentiality of our sources, which is exactly what this journalist was doing with hundreds of sources who
Right.
spoke to her. With whom she built the currency of trust, which isn't easy as a figure in the media in today's political climate.
No, I think that should scare everybody.
No, I mean,
That happens.
Right.
no offense, Tristan, but every time you call me, it's like I don't know if I should say anything. But it's not because I don't trust you. It's just that public people, we have to be careful about what we say and when we say it and how we say things, because
Because Rhonda Fitzgerald's coming
well,
after you.
maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but it is something to really pay attention to, there's something that I've always remembered about the First Amendment, and it's what Thomas Jefferson said. He said, "You can take away all my other rights, but you leave me the First Amendment, and I will soon have them all back." And I think what's happening across the country with respect to the First Amendment, of course, it's terrible. We are no longer a free country.
It doesn't seem that way.
When the government starts censoring things, when they start removing, rewriting history, and then especially when we start intimidating journalists.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know why the heck you defunded NPR and PBS. Why didn't you just install your own people and make it like CBS or Twitter or something,
Or like
Well,
Voice of America.
I mean, the White House has installed their own people. I mean, the press corps has
propaganda,
fundamentally changed. And
Well, the Pentagon press corps is this is an abomination, and I don't see how people are putting up with it. I mean, all the 1A, 2A, all the militia guys, all these hardcore right-wing people, like, now they don't give a shit about any of this. It's like, they were racist all the time. That's what I think, I mean, they don't give a shit about this tyranny and this shit that's going on now and always bitching about it, especially with a black president, but now everything's okay. They don't care about the First Amendment anymore. And I think Trump could take their fucking guns and they wouldn't say a thing. I just think that's the way it is.
Really?
They love the guy.
Maybe we can trick him into
And what's
it.
going on now, I think it's serious business. I don't even know about the FBI raiding in a reporter's house. That's insane. And that's where we are. That is where we are. It's crazy.
You don't listen to NPR, so.
Huh?
You don't listen to NPR.
No.
So,
That's too liberal for it. It's too woke for it.
Tristan, are you
It's
feeling
boring.
a different environment now as a member of the press? I mean, clearly some organizations have been under attack direct from the president and others. Do you have any of that, or are you just more cautious, or is there just a different?
No, I'm not more cautious. But my relationship with sources, especially those within the federal government, has fundamentally shifted over the course of the past year because we just don't have the access that we once did. And these actions and orders have had a chilling effect on especially federal government workers' comfort level talking to the press. So it has made my job just legions more difficult. I mean, conversations that I used to have on a weekly basis with, say, a public information officer from Glacier National Park is now neutered almost completely. And our ability to get information in a timely manner from interior departments. You know, I read a lot about the environment and natural resources, and so work a lot with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and those agencies have just become much more difficult to get access to. Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You look at what the reduction in the federal workforce did to federal workers, and it sent a lot of them sort of, you know, running scared, and I think that culture of fear continues. So yeah, it's certainly had an effect on our ability to effectively gather news in a timely manner.
Is it the same people that are now afraid, or is it different people?
Well, there are some of the same people. There are different people. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people, especially sort of middle management, that are no longer there at all, and so new people under new agencies. One thing I think that's important to remember when we're talking about the First Amendment is that its integrity is tested not just when we support the freedom to express ideas with which we agree, but the freedom to express ideas that we don't agree with.
Yes. Well, that's the key.
Yeah, right.
And so I think about that a lot when I'm, using the First Amendment as sort of my guiding star to think about, whether or not I should push back on policies or government decisions, and so we see Democrats do a lot of saber rattling about the First Amendment when Jimmy Kimmel's career is on the line,
Right.
but not so much when it's politically inconvenient. Condemning the war on Gaza. All of a sudden, things are a lot more muted, and so I do think it's important to note that both Republicans and Democrats champion the First Amendment. One of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed in his second term was one promoting the ability to freely express ourselves, and yet I think everybody has seen that this is a president who champions the right for people to express themselves when it aligns with his own,
when it's convenient.
thinking.
If not, shut the fuck up, or ICE is
Well,
coming.
they got tired of social media companies censoring, quote unquote, censoring all the nasty stuff that they said that wasn't true. Like he wants the First Amendment to be around so that he can spread his lies without any pushback. That's basically. That's his take on the First Amendment. It should be there to allow you to spread lies. Well, let's move on to another question. The Beacon always seems to, whoever it is, whether it's you or somebody else, you always seem to pull out some of my best quotes from my meetings. Like most recent one, I said, "I'm voting for a steaming pile of crap," and that made it into the Beacon. I'm wondering. And I'm okay with that. I say those things sometimes because I think they're funny, and I also truly believe that in the context where I said that. But does this kind of rhetoric, does it make people look stupid, politicians look stupid, or is this the kind of stuff people want to hear from politicians, what they want to read about, all that kind of stuff? What do you think?
Well, I guess that's what we call the money quote right there, Steve. And perhaps
Nice, I got the money quote.
Perhaps your
Maybe
elocutions during city council meetings just happen to be the most colorful.
No 4-syllable words.
What do you mean, Norton doesn't come up with any?
I think that quotes like that are sort of betray your humanity in a way that registers with our audience, and ultimately that's what we're doing, is trying to connect with our audience and make them care about an issue that our local government officials are considering. So in this case, I think you were talking about city council's decision to increase fire and ambulance fees by 22%, which is a lot of money, but this was the only solution, according to city council, for funding local emergency services. So that quote really captures what a lot of people are going to be thinking when they consider this new development in their communities. But in general, I mean, we make an effort to avoid, latching on to shiny objects and sound bites just because they might sound flashy or be memorable, because we want to dig into the more substantive answers, and those often require more nuance and exposition to fully capture an issue. So, I do think that, and I think that a lot of media savvy public officials know that that if they couch something in terms that registers with constituents, that it's going to lead a story, and that's what people are going to, it's just kind of communications 101.
That separates a lot of politicians, I think.
But
that ability.
If you're just up there, kind of free-forming, doing your Monday night slam poetry, then we're going to probably kind of seize on something that, really captures the issue at hand.
I can see that. Like, you're making it attractive for readers. You want it to be interesting, and and somebody gives you a quote like that. Yeah, like the money quote. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Well, I
really
appreciate
cool.
that. I do. I don't want to get into me, but there are times I think when politicians have to say how they feel, and I think a lot of that gets whitewashed away. I call it the autoclave here, and I always get made fun of for that. But I think that a lot of politicians, especially on the left, feel like they have to rinse everything, scrub it clean of anything that could be objectionable to anybody before they say it or put it out online. And it just makes you look unreal, not realistic. And so, I try to lead with my heart, and I think more politicians would do that. Well,
that was for the female viewers out there. And Chrissy Jacobson, apparently. She's hot.
Council discussion is an opportunity for different counselors to articulate views on difficult issues and ultimately appeal to voters who elected them. So, at least I imagine that's part of why you make the effort to explain your decisions and sometimes explain why you had to make a difficult decision.
It's true. Yeah, I think people want to hear that. They don't want to just see the vote. They want to know why you voted a certain way. And at the local level, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do that at the local level. All right, next question, Ed. You up?
So, one thing I think people are turning to podcasts to. Oh, nice.
Our first major beer foul.
Joe Peck would not have done that.
No, Joe Peck wouldn't have done that.
First major beer foul on the live podcast.
Jesus Christ. That's right. Vader loves beer. He'll come and clean it up after the show. So one thing we talk about a lot, and I mention a lot, that I see people, turning to podcasts instead of like corporate media and stuff, is because they're definitely not trusting a lot of people. And same thing with independent newspapers. It seems like when you're independent or you're a podcast, you're doing something like this, you have nothing to lose in a sense. Of course you do, being more serious media, like we're completely opposite of that. But, you see people turning into it and saying, like, we get comments, we get thousands of comments a day, and it's like people saying, oh, I love your take on this or that or whatever, and now I'm seeing it as like, this is a pretty important thing that we have going on. And we've had other podcasters reach out to us to collaborate, like, how do we get these messages out, and how, because I think people are finding the truth in alternative media sources, because it is kind of crazy these days. We know that there's media out there that's telling us what to think. That's nothing new, In fact, I think our last question dives into that a little bit. But what's your take on that, And because we're not out here telling people what they want to hear. That's not what I see in alternative media, But I do see it gaining popularity. And is there a ceiling for it, do you think?
Well, I do think that people tune into and seek out what they want to hear, which is
that's unavoidable.
That there's never been more options to isolate your media intake to only kind of silo off.
Yes.
Perspectives with which you agree.
Lucky for me, Alex Jones he'll go 6 hours a day, so that really fills my day.
Well, and that's another point that we can get to, but in a sort of media economy that monetizes and capitalizes on our attention spans, we're seeing people not just listen to these hours-long free-form dialogues through podcasts, but watch them on video.
Right.
And so I think we do need to give credence to the fact that this is a medium that's registering with people. And in an era where trust in mainstream media is at an all-time low and continues to free fall,
It
I
seems that way.
I think people are searching for a way to connect with an independent or alternative source of news and information, coming from sources that aren't academics or elites or national news figures, but are kind of part of our hangout culture. And you're able to do it in a way that isolates a local audience, that locates issues that are happening on a national stage but are having downstream consequences in our communities that people are thinking about, and you do it not in a reductive way, but in a way that I think speaks to how people discuss issues around the breakfast table. So
a little more normal, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
What does that say for journalism schools then? I mean, if like traditionally studying journalism as a medium, what's that going to do?
well, it's because we actually go out and gather the news and information that you guys discuss, and we
Right,
do it,
exactly.
and we do it.
That'll always be there, I would think.
Riding
I
on your
hope.
coattails. Thanks, Tristan.
And
We're
They
not
actually do the
We're
work.
not doing that.
and we do it, and I say this having worked in local journalism for over 2 decades. We do it with a level of professionalism and with a standard high enough that we really, I think, uphold the integrity of what we're presenting. And you're not going to necessarily get that if you're just reporting or if you're just reacting to something that a bot account
Right.
that espoused. And so, the problem, I guess, with this arrangement and to your point is that a lot of people don't know that, and so they're listening to podcasts or they're scrolling through their news feed. And the news and information that's animating that is reviewed and assessed and corroborated by professional journalists working at a breakneck pace to ensure the accuracy and timeliness of these stories. And then, talking heads or podcasts just sort of give it a little razzle dazzle, and then all of a sudden that content becomes original. And that is one of the reasons that I agreed to come on here before tonight, is because I want people to know that both, I think, can coexist in a healthy media ecosystem, but you can't have this without me.
Without real journalism.
Yep.
Well, like Joe Rogan, he people kind of laughed at podcasts. So did I. I got to be honest. I wasn't that into them at all. And when you see one actually affect a national election, like I did, it's like, oh fuck, people are paying attention to this because 25-year-old dudes, like I was a fucking nerd. I listened to talk radio when I was 16. Like that was me. Nobody I knew did. Especially not younger people. Now I got a bunch of younger people that work for me, and they talk about Joe Rogan. I'm like, holy shit, like. So he's their news, like, okay, this is real, like they weren't political before Joe Rogan because political was never cool, like never cool. Nothing made it cool. Somehow I'm not saying he's cool. He did Fear Factor, I think, right? I mean, that was cool, I guess. Yeah. Right? He was the host, I think. And was he a fighter?
Was he an MMA fighter?
He was MMA?
Well, but he was never professional.
Okay, all right. But
he was
you see the
show or something.
and obviously
show.
he
He's
wouldn't exist
commentator.
without journalism because he's not going out getting these stories or breaking these stories. He's just talking about them. It's like
Well, he's
it's
also
kind of a
talking
mix
about a bunch of
news and
fucking stupid shit
like,
conspiracy
It's
theories.
kind of well, of course he is. No, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
But it used to be the cool conspiracies that everybody
it did
I was
space,
into it.
aliens, and shit. That's fucking cool. Now, no, he's all over the place now. He's scrambling, I think, But I do think that there are two worlds where these will live together, need to live together, and feed off of each other without a doubt. I mean, that's that I think that's you hit the nail on the head with that. There's definitely a place for them to get along and still be productive.
And so, because of that, I definitely have the same take on journalism as you do. And, I try to teach my students, like, there's a reason people go to journalism school so that they can actually study how to gather, collect, and report the news. Because the idea is that you guys are bringing the truth to the American people about what's actually happening on whatever it is. But unfortunately, it seems like, at least half of America is either misinformed or they're stupid or they're somewhere in between. So, what do we do? What do we do to try to combat misinformation that gets spread out there by some, even some, what we would consider mainstream media outlets today, who kind of spread? There's no other word for it that I can see other than lies. What do we do about that?
Well, our media consumption habits have changed so dramatically because of these behavior modification devices that we carry around with us. And so you have to be intentional with how I think you consume news now. I mean, I don't ever kid myself into thinking that I pour myself into the Flathead Beacon in such a way that I want it to be something for everyone, and I want it to be something that everyone can come to and be thrilled by, something that they were not expecting to be interested in.
Yeah.
I think that is so I don't ever kid myself into thinking that people only read the Beacon, but I do think that when you go to the Beacon, you get a full meal. You get
cool
you get an
graphs,
entree.
you got the questions and answer things,
right?
And
so you get sort of you get your dessert. We cover local arts and events and culture. You also get your high protein stories that about national policies, and
you can say meat at the top of the pyramid if you want.
Downstream
We're okay with
consequences. But that's not the only source of news that people are going to. So we certainly give our audience a diverse menu. But when I hear people talk about a story that they saw posted somewhere, my shoulders tense up, because I know that it's just something that
Where's it coming from?
They scrolled past.
Right.
Is it AI? Is it a bot? You don't know what to trust. You have to look at this stuff with a microscope on your phone. You do. Yeah. And I don't think enough people are smart enough to do that. I just don't. You see all these things that spread and spread and spread, and it's misinformation. It's not real, but there it is. And it's like, oh, man, so the guy that, the YouTuber with going to the
Nick, whatever his name.
Yeah,
we shouldn't even say his name.
I mean, going to the daycares when they're closed. Wow, nobody's here. Isn't this crazy? It's fucking Saturday, But he's not saying that. He gets millions of views and makes a shit ton of money on a completely false story that now probably 20 to 30 million Americans completely believe is true.
It got picked up by the White House.
Oh yeah, well of course.
Well, and it's like the story
I don't think
whatever
that doesn't
story
carry the weight it used to.
Whatever story Trump consumed where immigrants were eating cats and dogs,
right.
It made it onto a fucking debate stage for the presidency. And he actually said it out loud. And guess what? 77 million fucking people voted for him. Even after saying some dumb shit like that. What the hell is going on?
I think in that same debate, he said Democrats are having abortions at 10 months old, the babies. That's fucking murder. It's just beyond abortion. I mean, but, yeah, not only are we looking at podcasters and YouTubers doing this, yet your president's doing the same stuff. He is. He's saying shit that's so fucking out there. But anytime anybody says anything, there's an ear that's going to listen to it somewhere, and it just depends on how many ears, because some of this shit does get out of hand, and it's unbelievable that that something can be so easily, you can tell what it is. You're looking at it yourself, but the person next to you can see it completely different and believe in some, completely different. It's an amazing time right now. I know it's always been around, but
and the fragmentation of that monoculture, though, I think is something that should be concerning, because we curate our own personal information, sources of information.
Yeah.
Our own dockets. And that can be really isolating, and it can make it a lot easier to reject or just sort of have your default reaction be to challenge somebody
Yes.
who's not receiving the same news and information.
Like
the
I
same
follow
way.
all of them. I watch all of it and I follow all of it. I feel like I have to. I have to. As much as I don't really enjoy listening to the Laura Ingraham angle, I do. And I know Steve, when he started helping with our Facebook page, he's like, "Why the fuck are you following these people?" It's like, well, cause Charlie Kirk's somebody in the news. Fucking Cheryl Seekins Crow, she's a legislator and she says the wildest shit, and I want to know what she's spreading. I mean, and she's
friend of the pod, my best friend.
Yeah, it's Carol.
Friend of the pod.
Seekins
That's right.
Crow.
She's great.
She's
She
fucking
loves
nuts, dude.
What'd she do to her foot?
Has she commented on the pod?
Crazy. Well,
Oh yeah, and I've commented on stuff like hers, and she just she freaks out. when
She
you-
spreads in
it's
misinformation all the time.
crazy.
I mean, she, and to me, it's like, where's the responsibility anymore of any of these people? Like, and flying off the handle and coming to a judgment, like the United States government, making a decision that this woman that got shot in Minneapolis was a domestic terrorist within minutes. Okay, we're lost. I mean, we're lost. I don't get it.
so do you ever have the urge to do a juicy national story at the Beacon? I know that's definitely not in your zone, but do you guys ever have the urge to do that over
Sometimes
there?
there is.
Well, what is this? The Devil Wears Prada? I don't think I've ever said, "Oh, I'm going to do this story because it's a big, juicy national one."
Yeah, Tristan doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
I mean, you have to remember that America, we have local elected officials that have served under Trump as the Interior
You're right.
director.
Right.
I don't think we have to really be all that high-minded when it comes to tracking down stories that are both juicy and of national interest. But yeah, I mean, right, this past year is a great example of ways in which that we've looked at what is happening in D.C., which everybody is talking about, and we've distilled that in a way that locals know how it's affecting their daily lives. And that's something that we, that's sort of our North Star, is to track down those stories. And it just so happens that the past year has been one brimming with consequential decisions out of D.C. that are affecting American lives. So we don't have to look too far in order to do that. But again, it requires building trust with sources who can tell us when a federal grant for addiction recovery and mental health has dried up or been pulled out from under them. We have to be able to speak to vulnerable citizens who are having their Medicaid cut. We have to go out and talk to real people, not just the politicians making these decisions, and tell their stories too. Because ultimately, I mean, journalists and certainly First Amendment supporters, I think, have an obligation to defend the underdog, and give voice to people who normally wouldn't have one. I mean, you look at what's happening in Minneapolis, which is where I grew up, and there was a time not so long ago
I'm sorry your football team's so bad.
Renee Good, hey, this is not the time.
Well, Ryan's a Vikings fan. Nobody sits there.
Skull Vikings.
Great.
And
Oh,
Ryan
Ryan's gonna
just
love
rage
that.
quit the podcast. He was watching live until Ed said that.
But there was a time in the not so distant past when somebody like Renee Good, I think that the instinct from local officials would have been to assume that she was exercising her First Amendment rights to peacefully demonstrate and assemble, and instead we labeled her domestic terrorist before the details of what happened had even become
And there
known.
won't be an investigation, they said today. They will not. This will be the only murder committed by a federal employee not being investigated. Wow.
And so
have our thoughts
to
about
me
that.
that is not
Cool.
a political stance. That is just it's unconscionable.
Right, it is.
And it also shows evidence of the erosion of the First Amendment. And so I mean, just to circle back to what kicked this whole discussion off, the sanctity of the First Amendment. You can't just apply the First Amendment when it serves your interests. And I think
That's
that's what
convenient.
we're seeing right
Well, and to touch on that, I'm going to jump around a little
That's
bit.
been done on both sides, too.
Steve, Steve, you got to keep track of it. I'm jumping around a little bit because this kind of is a little more on the
I'm realizing that some of our questions are redundant. So.
Yeah. So, but on this conversation, it's like, this is what I always wonder, and this is the question I want to ask you. Like, what do you do as a reporter? Like, when you have an actual president saying something that, China doesn't have any wind farms. They only make the wind turbines and sell them to suckers like us in Europe. And he says, kids are getting transgender surgeries at school. They're gone for 4 days. They come back. They're the different sex. Like, all this shit. I mean, and you don't, as a reporter, you'd be like, oh, God, no. Is it an instant, okay, we're not touching it? Because he says and a lot of politicians do. And I don't see that. I mean, I see it getting made fun of, but I don't see it as a story. And to me, it's kind of a story. Like, wow, our president's actually going against what everybody in the fucking world knows to be true. Every fucking person knows China is the largest producer of wind energy in the world. But he goes on camera and he looks at people and he says, China only produces them and they don't have only suckers buy them like us in Europe. As a reporter, what do you do? I mean, obviously he's lying. It's just obvious. But I haven't seen one story about this other than, like I say, people making fun of it, Because it's so outlandish, it's just something that's not worth reporting on.
You're saying the story is that he's lying.
Right, which is... which is, yes.
How many times
But it's kind of a crazy thing to say. Something that outlandish that really doesn't get reported on. I wonder as a reporter, you're just kind of like, oh, fuck, I'm not even touching this. Is it just, it's not worth it because it's so ridiculous. And is that how, maybe that's how he gets away with it. I'm just trying to, from your perspective, I'm wondering what the psyche is behind telling such crazy lies and then leaving reporters in the dust because what do you do about that? Because again, you can't call him out. You might get fucking put in jail. Who knows?
Well, in some ways, I think you answered your own question, which is this, this notion of leaving reporters in the dust. Even just on my way over here, trying to think about ways in which the press has been attacked in the past year.
Oh my God!
I couldn't. I lost count because
you couldn't keep up.
It's happening so often and in so many different ways,
and by so many different people
that that they aren't all big news stories. But I also think that since 2016, you've seen the White House press corps certainly and mainstream news in general really shift the tenor in which they cover the president, which is not just that his social media posts are often newsworthy and are sometimes the lead of the day,
right?
But that fact checking the president during press conferences, and it's important to keep in mind that this president has been far more exponentially more available to the press than his predecessors. And yet, what he says is often, I think,
nuts.
Requires a degree of incredulity in order to effectively cover. Because to your point, you just don't know whether what he says is going to be truth, or whether or not anybody is going to be able to present any evidence to shore it up.
Yeah.
Or whether they're willing to. That's kind of the problem is that.
It seems like they're not willing. A lot of them aren't willing.
The press doesn't seem willing to call him out. I think that's kind of what Ed is saying a little bit.
I just think it's. He's probably not a guy you call out because people, they've seen the ramifications of that. It's
quiet piggy and all that.
Well,
shit.
did you see the Jake Tapper interview with Kristi Noem?
Yes. Holy fuck,
he
dude.
called her out, right?
She just fucking was perfect through the whole thing,
and she
didn't fucking flinch.
She stuck to her lies, right?
Oh, big time.
And that's like a superpower.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there at all. It was amazing. You're right. That's a superpower.
They just they can look you straight in the face and tell you a lie, and they know
and not answer your question.
They know that they're lying. They know that that they're lying, and they're still lying.
Yeah. Well, because they
that's
don't have a
you know,
choice.
but I mean, that's where, like, at least Jake Tapper. I mean, as from my viewpoint, he did the right thing. He said, "Here's the video. How could you say that?"
Yeah, because like we all saw it with our own eyes.
And yet, even with all that, she walked away never changing position.
No, they're all pretty good at that. Like, that's the difference between this administration and the last one. The last one was complete turmoil the entire time. People getting fired, people quitting. It was fucking insane. This time, he wised up. He's like, I'm only getting yes men, and they are going to basically sign a contract with me. They're not going to fucking do anything that I don't tell them to do, and they will keep their job, you know? And they've done everything. I mean, these people, I've never seen people in administration say some fucked up shit that I've heard, that I've seen this time. You know, with all the shit turmoil last time, I'm sure people just wouldn't say shit and wouldn't do shit for him because they're like, this is not how it works. Like John Bolton, you're not making that motherfucker a yes man. No way. You know what I mean? No. Mark, and a lot of these people you're not, you know? And now you just have these people like Pete Kegsbreath. Oh my God. This guy's like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I can't believe he's the Secretary of Defense.
Old Paloma Pete, yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe Christy Noem. I can't believe Jeannie Pirro is a fucking federal attorney. Like, all this stuff, his personal lawyer.
Cash Patel.
You know, Cash Patel. Yeah. Crazy eyes. Crazy
RFK Jr.
Yes. I mean,
I guess,
fucking lunatic.
I guess the question I asked you earlier was more like along those lines, like, do you ever get the urge to just do an expose on one of these sorry, I almost said it.
Goddamn,
on one of these terrible people that has been appointed to office that just to make your, I don't know.
It wouldn't serve a purpose.
On the podcast, we cut them down all the time. We try to expose them for who they are and for the stupid shit they do. And we can do that because we're a little more nimble and we're a little less, we're a little less beholden to Flathead County. And we don't really, honestly, we don't care. We're saying the things that we believe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And I guess, do you ever get that urge to be like, God, we really got to do a story exposing some of this stuff? Or is it just, that's not our lane, we need to stay in our lane because our lane is different than what people like Beer Buds and Big Sky do?
Well, we do occupy a different lane, and I think we have different responsibilities.
Way more mature lane
to our readers,
obviously.
But I mean, I guess I would just push back on this notion that the press isn't covering contradictions and falsehoods from the people in the highest chambers of power, and I think that coverage again is part of the feedback loop that allows you guys to immediately recognize just how crazy some of this is.
So much crazy.
Yeah. But at the same time, this is the reality. I mean, this is the world that we live in.
It is.
And so to just continue to scratch our heads about how a Pete Hegseth or an RFK ended up in the positions that they ended up in, we are going to instead report when we mysteriously end up on a signal chat in which national security matters of national security importance are being freely exchanged along with.
But you would have wanted to be that
with
reporter.
emojis. I mean, when I see something like that, my instinct isn't. Right, I need to write about this and just talk about how reckless and irresponsible this is of Pete Hegseth, because I know that our audiences are going to get that from a different lane.
Okay.
Because
I saw that comment.
Let me ask you a question, just to get your take on this. When I was running for state auditor, I was interviewed over the phone by a statewide independent newspaper based in Helena that's highly regarded.
That we shall not name.
And, I did I remember pulling over on the side of the road because I knew I was going to lose cell coverage. I talked to the reporter for 45 minutes, answered all the questions. A couple days later, the article comes out, and the first, 3 paragraphs of the article were about my opponent. He's so-and-so who's currently holds this position is, running for state auditor, and then it gets down to me, and then it gets down to the fact that they never talked to him. They looked at his website
Right,
and
took that
said,
information.
according to his website, he said, he believes this or this or this. Also on his website was one of his posts, or at least maybe not on his website, but on his social media, was he's going to secure the border. That had nothing to do with the office, right? So that was overlooked. But if you read through the article, it would seem like both of us had opened ourselves up to an interview. Both of us, had, neither one of us had, gone off into completely irrelevant issues. And, I looked at that and I thought, well, my God, I've got no chance here. Because even a respected news organization can't say, we attempted to reach both candidates for state auditor. One of them we talked to, and here's what he had to say. The other one didn't respond to our request for. And by the way, on his website, it says that he's going to fix border security. I mean, do you feel so compelled, or do you understand their, feeling that they must be so compelled to do this both sides, equal treatment, that ultimately it's not really fair. I mean, I submitted, if any, right-leaning radio talk show host called me up, I'll go on and talk. Yeah, I didn't turn down a single thing, and yet, and granted, he didn't have to do the stuff I did necessarily, but how do you balance that? How do you deal with the feeling that you need to represent both sides, but when one side won't cooperate?
Well, having not read the article, but I have a pretty good sense of what you're describing, because I've read plenty of facsimiles of that sort of template.
Right.
And to your credit, I remember when you were campaigning both for PSC and state auditor, you were incredibly generous with your time and afforded journalists lots of access to ask you questions, and you were willing to talk about complex issues in depth and talk about issues that aren't exactly sexy, such as with the PSC, when
or state auditor,
or state auditor.
Boring.
But I mean, we write those kinds of stories a lot, and we occasionally run into situations where somebody is either not available or just doesn't want to respond to our questions,
Right.
or take the time for an interview. And certainly, one candidate opening themselves up to a phone interview or an in-person interview where the questions are not released to them ahead of time puts them in a much more vulnerable position than the candidate who says, I'll only respond to emailed questions, and then may not even answer those questions. And so I think it's irresponsible to put those side by side, juxtapose those two responses, which are just objectively not equal, and present them as though both candidates were equally open. We go out of our way to reach everybody, but certainly if that had been the case in our reporting on a story like that, we would not have larded the first few paragraphs with substance that we teased off of a website. We would have said up high that this candidate didn't respond to our questions, and then probably let Repke cook. But I can't speak to that article specifically, and I also, I'm certainly not accusing you of sour grapes or anything, but
it ultimately didn't make any difference.
But we saw, after Tester lost his election, he immediately talked about the erosion of local media as one reason that issues just weren't penetrating local communities anymore, weren't getting through to voters because politics has become so nationalized. And in a lot of ways, I think he's right. I think he overlooked just how much local coverage there was on his campaign, but that campaign received such widespread national attention that sometimes it was difficult to write about how he was helping Montana beef producers while also covering his opponent who wasn't as easily reached, and we struggled with that covering. I think we always struggle covering an election in which one candidate is going to be more open and available than the other. Because we want to have access to both candidates, but and we don't want to provide lopsided coverage. And I think there's also a sense that you'll come across as being skewed and as being biased. And again, as we sort of try to keep at bay this widespread mistrust of media organizations, even those who are doing their best to be accurate and to be fair, being labeled as a liberal rag or having a conservative bent can really disenfranchise a huge segment of your audience. So I would guess that their intentions were either that of self-preservation or laziness, but it's not the kind of journalism we practice, and it certainly wouldn't pass our muster.
Right.
Well, on this subject, we're going to go with on one of our segments, and Ryan Hennon's not here. He normally, and I feel honored to do the quote of the week.
Do you need a surrogate?
I took it.
I see.
I took the quote of the week, and I'm going to ask you guys if you know, freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy. Who said that? Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite.
Okay.
That kind of ties
Speaking
in.
of the monoculture, I mean, we
Yeah.
don't have Walter
We
Cronkite
do
in our
not.
living
We
room
don't have anything
anymore.
near that. I'll be honest. I used to think Anderson Cooper was that out of all the news I watched.
We have Megyn Kelly.
And I don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah. She's hot though. But I just don't. We don't have that. We don't. And the reason I brought up, and we're just going to finish this whole section up with, the Fairness Doctrine. A lot of people really don't know what it is, but it was something until 1987 that basically said you had to tell the truth in the news. You just had to. You know what I mean? Like this is, and now news is opinion, and unfortunately, people take it as news. Fox News was absolutely sued and lost and settled. It's basically saying they were entertainment. And this does happen. But now we're at a point where, holy crap, it's just screwy. It's really screwy. I think media is screwy. I think, as long as papers like yours stick around, you have independent, outlets. Once those go away, I don't see any difference from us and, communist Russia, for Christ's sakes. It's crazy. We have enough state-run shit, if you ask me. And I always think it's funny that Trump and people on the right always called NPR state-run media and PBS. And I'm like, have you ever listened or watched any of this? Where are you coming from? What? This isn't, it's liberal because it's older, ugly people talking about real things. It's boring as fuck. You don't have some super hot fucking gazillionaire on Fox News giving you the news.
It's not. There's no profit motive in that news either.
You're right. There isn't.
Well, but there's also
nerds like my uncle always
there's
listen
also
to that.
a lot of newspapers are owned by and TV like Sinclair and organizations that have an agenda, right?
Well, yeah.
That's why something like the Flathead Beacon.
the
is so
Rockefellers.
important.
I just want to say thanks for coming on the show, Tristan, and being brave enough to get up here and hang out with us who curse all the time, and you're obviously not quite there. You're way smart.
I don't know. I think I'm getting a contact high.
Maybe we'll get you to say one curse word before you leave.
That's right.
I do appreciate all the 4-syllable words that I've heard in here tonight. It's been quite refreshing to hang out with somebody who's actually read some classic literature and actually can speak eloquently.
Me and TJ don't like it none, right, TJ?
With lots of panache and thoughtfulness. I really do appreciate that.
I can't even understand half the shit he said.
And so Ed's been over there with his dictionary on his phone. But it's really refreshing to hear your take on on being an independent newspaper in the time of in this age of instant gratification, especially with news. So we really appreciate it. We're going to move on. We have a couple other segments we're going to go into tonight, and ring in whenever you want if you, and we'll probably ask you to weigh in on some of these things.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Is the next segment TJ? Because we've totally blown up our schedule again.
Yeah, no, we're good. We'll talk about this one real quick before we get to TJ's story. We're gonna let TJ build up for our audience anticipation of what the fuck TJ's going to talk about this week, because I told him not to tell us this time first, so we can be just as surprised as everybody else. But I thought this was, Steve, you emailed this and added this Trump inadvertently released the economic data on, economic data on Truth Social 12 hours before it does come out, which gives people more than enough time to play the stock market and figure out how to make money off of this report.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. That's crazy. Like, that's another super crazy thing to me. And it's not the first time he's done something on social media which has turned into money for other people in the stock market. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. This shit, I don't know how it's acceptable. He's selling cars for Elon Musk on the White House lawn, and actually there was a spike in Tesla sales, for like 2 weeks, because then they got in a spat again, whatever, But like, to me, that's just kind of crazy that you're just, again with the Pete Hegseth on Signal, these careless acts of crazy shit. I don't
think that was careless. I think that was calculated.
Well, I think most of it is.
The economic data that comes out, I think, comes out of the University of Michigan, is such highly regarded and well protected information because of the fact that it can move markets and it will move markets when that information is released. It does move markets.
Like, why wouldn't he just tell a few of his friends instead of everybody?
I mean, you don't think he did tell just a few of them?
I'm assuming.
Well, it was on Truth Social, so of course liberals don't fucking subscribe to Truth Social.
Yeah, liberals aren't going to be making money.
You don't want your eyes to burn out of the back of your head.
You're right.
So you don't read that shit. But it was a calculated move on his part. I'm convinced of it. Maybe it's not. He's got dementia. We know that. Maybe he just was like, oh yeah, I should share this, whatever. But I really think it was calculated. And the stock market, if you get information 1 second, 1 millisecond, 1/1000th of a second before somebody else does in today's stock market, you can make a killing.
Oh yeah,
and
it's gambling.
To get a 12-hour head start on the markets with the economic data is absolutely insane. If anybody else had done something like that, it would be a scandal. But it got totally washed away in the news cycle because of everything else.
Yeah,
it's the flood the zone.
Yeah, flood the zone. Steve Bannon. I mean, the distract. I mean, it's because we're getting shit thrown at us every day. Like I said in the email, I'm like, we're probably going to bomb Greenland or Ireland or something before the show because we only got 4 hours. Something's going to fucking change, and it's crazy.
Well, it's just to me, it's just the lack of seriousness. I mean, we used to
there's a lot of that.
Adults running. I mean, releasing this.
Oh, like adults in tan suits? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the carelessness and the unseriousness of the people that we have in the government right now.
Yeah. And the cold-heartedness, if you ask me. I don't give a fuck. I'm super rich. Fuck you.
Well,
it just drives me fucking crazy.
It's clear that Trump is in this for the money. He's using pulling every lever to make money for himself and his kids and his cronies.
And he's doing it.
And he's using every single lever from the pardons all the way down to releasing economic data early. He probably got paid by somebody to release that economic data.
Eric Trump probably owns a construction company building the East Wing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
No, it is.
And it's all about the money. I mean, he sees the government as a way to enrich himself. He really does. If you start to If you look at his actions through that lens, you look at his actions.
People on the right don't have a problem with it. They really like I get the shit a lot. Is like, what do you got against making money? Oh my God, shut the fuck up. I mean, it's just that's not what this should be about. You know what I mean? But you got people that are totally cool with it. They're totally cool with this guy can do whatever he wants in a lot of people's eyes. I'm not saying all 77 million that voted for him, but probably a good 30% of those people, 40%. They believe
30% of the country.
I mean, that's your base on both sides.
20% of the country's illiterate, so
Yeah.
Only about 10% we're worried about there.
Yeah,
Those
I
are
mean,
the people we're worried
even
about.
worse though, and all this stuff gets lost. But he fired the head of the BLS, which
Yeah.
you know
That's
right.
big.
the
That's a big deal.
primary statistical gathering organization.
And how can you trust
because
any
he didn't
number
like
now?
So how can you trust any number?
You can't
he
trust
investigates-
anything.
So you know.
Yeah.
You can't trust anything. You know, he can't trust his TJ.
So it's even worse than releasing real numbers early. It's manipulating the number in the first place so
Yeah.
that you can release it so that you can do it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's
Or-
screwing, man.
Or sicking your Department of Justice on the head of the Treasury, you know, so that because
the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve, sorry, because of cost overruns. Like, oh, okay.
I mean, that's another thing. Really, you're going to investigate the chair of the Powell's getting investigated.
Everybody
now.
gets investigated if you're
It's
an enemy.
so dumb.
Everybody does.
It's so. You know what he
Letitia
said? You see
James,
what he said about
James Comey.
You see what he said about him? He goes, you know, I don't know. Biden appointed this guy,
Yeah.
and Trump's the one that put Powell in
Trump
that position.
appointed him.
Yeah, and he said, I'm happy
He
to
said
appoint
that
this.
Biden did it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. It could be dementia, or it could be like he fucking knows that his followers and enough people are going to believe that Biden put him there that'll justify him removing him and investigating him. He knows that he's the one that put him there, but he knows just enough people out there believe whatever he says. So in case, like, I don't know what we're building up for. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But you've got all your J6ers that are pardoned are now ICE agents, and all their cousins and brothers are too with them, you know. You've got a lot of weird shit going on. You got enough people that do believe him. You got millions of people that who knows what's going to happen. Who knows where he's going with it. I mean, it's all crazy as fuck. Speaking of crazy, TJ.
Speaking of crazy,
Let's get a story from
TJ,
you.
what you got for us this week?
Oh, it's a banger. So about
These are all true.
oh yeah, about 3 years ago, my best friend's grandfather had a stroke. He and most of the family went out to Seattle to get it fucking dealt with. But during that time, a horse happened to die in the stall in their barn/pasture area.
Oh.
And it was just dead of winter. We couldn't get a truck or a tractor out there or nothing. But of course, they called me to handle it. Because my best friend at the time was serving in the Navy, he couldn't help much. So I called my other buddy, we'll call him MG, to ask for advice on the situation. MG has this like redneck ass roommate that took the phone and said, "So this is what you gotta do." And when a redneck says this is what you gotta do, that's what you gotta fucking do. But basically, he told me to quarter that son of a bitch up like an elk.
No.
And drag that fucker out to the pasture and light it on fucking fire. So I call a bunch of my other badass friends, and I had a girlfriend with me at the time that helped. And we get this horse quartered up after about 30 minutes with a hacksaw. Surprisingly really hard to saw through the head of a damn horse. But then we got it outside. We lit it on fire. It surprisingly smelled
That's not
really
the key.
good.
no.
So we went out for a steak after that. But you know what's not on my mind right now? It's not the dead horse at my best friend's house. It's the dead country in front of my fucking face. And if you elect a pedo, you are a pedo. In fact, the only thing I hate as much as a pedo is a fascist. But I especially hate a fascist pedo. Fucking. So let me just remind you of a quote from one of our founding fathers here. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. You decide which one you want to be.
Ooh, nice.
Hey,
Good
thanks,
story
TJ.
and some
Thanks,
words of
TJ.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Nice, TJ. And remember, we get to 100,000 followers, you might just see TJ's face someday.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
until then, we're keeping it secret.
What are you at right now?
42K.
Like about 80 over all the
I thought you
platforms.
meant just
Yeah, we
one.
gained like 10,000 last less than 2 weeks.
I guess I need
well-
to follow.
So now on media and this stuff too, what I'm seeing, we were talking about all the fake shit out there, you know, the AI, and I Googled it today. Upwards of 30% of posts on any social media site could be AI generated, and you don't know. Because Trump is trying to deregulate AI 100%, so states can't enact any laws. Because I appreciate AI videos that say AI generated at the bottom. I think that's important. It's not one of these things where it's like, if you're too stupid to figure out, fuck off. You know, there's a lot of that going on. But this AI, it looks real when J.D. Vance is giving Trump a blowjob in an AI video. I mean, it looks fucking real, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it is, but...
I haven't seen
I
that
don't know,
one.
Ed.
and the bots,
Yeah, I
you know,
haven't
they're,
either.
like,
I'm not looking at
how
that.
do you know?
Go on record.
That's not my internet feed. But
You think about it.
Or my dream journal.
I mean, if that's what's going on, you know, and you have all these, like, this guy is ex-sniper is getting pretty popular on TikTok.
yeah.
He's a pretty good dude. He's
Yeah.
pretty smart. We should try to get him on.
yeah, he is.
But he talks about a lot of stuff. And then this other one, this post he made the other day was just about, like, you know, showing, you know, Trump doing something that's so awesome. And then here's a bot, hot chick, always big tits, super hot, and say, you know, this is the best president we've ever had. We're so lucky to be, you know. And another chick, another bot, the exact same wording. But out of 1,700 comments on this post, half of them were bots. And they're different people, but saying the same exact things. Like, it's crazy shit, you know? Like, I think that's crazy. And I don't know, you know, how do they filter something like that out? I don't know if you can. I mean, if upwards of 30% of posts are bots and comments and shit, like, I don't even understand. I can't even, like, you can teach computer science, right?
Yeah.
How the fuck does this happen?
I don't teach that level of computer science.
But it's not just
You treat the
it's not just
preschool
the
version?
bots. It's not just the bots creating the posts or the content that people need to be concerned about. It's the bots driving it to the top of
Right. That's
the
kind of what I'm
pyramid.
getting at. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're doing that by populating these posts that may or may not have any significance with comments.
Right.
Like, is there a program running, you know, and then that's monitoring social medias and throw these bots in?
Well,
when,
I think
Well, for every data center we build in order to fuel these
fuck.
bots, you could build another one to counteract them.
yeah.
right, that's what that's all about.
I think,
all that
I mean,
stuff.
I think there was at a time, you know, Facebook had a whole branch of the company that was in there looking at posts and moderating. They had an entire moderation wing of the whole
Wow.
of the company, but that has been eroded and taken away. Facebook said, you know, we're no longer going to censor political speech. We're no longer going to
Right.
cut it off between 1 month before an election or 2 weeks before an election, like they did before.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was at the behest of the right wing because people on the right felt so bad because they weren't allowed to lie 2 weeks before an election. I mean, that's one of those things that we have to suffer through. And, you know, a private company, and it kind of gets into that censorship question, like where does the line of censorship lie? Like the government
Yeah.
can't censor you, but can a private company restrict what people are allowed to put on their platform? And that's the question, the greater question that we never really got an answer to, other than that Facebook rolled over when the right said, okay, we're not going to use your platform anymore if you cut us off.
yeah.
And,
don't
I mean,
know.
that's why Elon Musk bought Twitter.
The one
Right.
the one antidote, and if I could impress my opinion on your audience on any point, it would be this, which is to find a journalist and a local news source or any news source that you can trust, and trust a journalist, because that's going to be the one way to penetrate this bubble of misinformation that we're living in. And with all of the content that's competing for our eyeballs, I mean, I will say that it challenges our ability to concentrate on a meaningful text or a meaningful idea, challenges our ability to interact meaningfully with other humans, to go outside and touch the grass. And, you know, to see that leach away from our lives, to me, really represents a profound tragedy. But if our analytics are to be trusted, our readers continue to be most interested in the sort of in-depth, enterprise, long-form journalism that we publish. They've really demonstrated an enduring appetite for those complex stories, 4,000-word stories that get at the meat of an issue, that explore different dimensions, that aren't just sort of you know, using that template of binaries and black and white and he said, she said, that really explore complicated questions. And so that's kind of, you know, that's what gets me out of bed every day, is knowing that there's still an appetite for that level of discourse, and that people aren't, you know, the bots aren't winning, that people are still finding a way to wade through it. But it's certainly getting more difficult.
Oh, yeah, I would assume. sure every politician listening's like, your days are numbered, you know.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
it's
when
not
I
easy to-
was a kid, and you could write a report, you could look at if it was
when God was a small child.
Yes, I mean, if it was printed in Time or
Right, you trusted it, right?
the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Denver Post or whatever,
Right.
it was you could trust it to be true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
you
the
really
National
can.
Enquirer, right? Yeah.
We knew back then that was just nonsense,
Garbage,
right?
yeah,
So, but I wonder what they're doing today to teach kids how to discern what is a reliable news source and what isn't. Is that even happening in the schools
Well,
anymore?
they go to
Why are you
Steve
looking at
Bannon
me?
first.
Why are you looking at me?
Well,
No,
but the
you seem to know a lot.
We leave that up to the English classes.
Okay.
But I mean, when you see media companies shift their objectives from truth telling to virality, then you're going to get
Yeah.
a greater emphasis on those shiny objects, and the goal is to get into people's feeds, and it's a slippery slope.
Well,
people's attention
wasn't
spans.
Fox's defense that they're entertainment, they're not news? I mean,
Yes, it was
yeah.
entertainment and opinion.
Yeah,
Their
so-
founding charter is entertainment,
Yeah.
not news. Well, speaking of shiny objects, I want to try to start a new segment of this is what happened today in the news, because everything's moving so damn fast that
Very
we have to
fast.
keep up. So just today in the news, we had, and this was just like in the last few hours even, Machado, however
Yes.
you say her name,
Bless her heart.
presents Trump with her Peace Prize.
Yep.
And I don't know if you heard it, but
Give
I
me the
definitely
prize, bitch. You'll be president. Give me the prize.
I don't know if you guys heard it, but I heard the collective eye roll from the people in Norway when she announced this. It was audible all the way across the globe, right up over the pole into Montana. You could hear their eye roll.
It's pretty fucking nuts. A guy wanting to protect brown people in Iran by bombing the Iranian government wants to invade Greenland. He wants to take over Nicaragua and some other country he mentioned, the other Cuba. I mean, all this stuff, and he gets the Nobel Peace. Dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well,
that's crazy.
I mean, Norway's got buyer's remorse. Whatever.
Yeah.
Another big thing happened. This was in the last 24 hours. Vance, our friend Teddy Ruxpin, J.D. Vance, cast the tie-breaking vote to kill the Venezuela
yeah.
War Powers Resolution. The only
right.
reason it got through is that a couple Republican senators actually stood up to let it come to a floor vote, and then they got arm twisted, and our good friend Josh Hawley, friend of the pod, he folded like a cheap tent,
Yeah.
faster than a cheap tent in a southern breeze, and rolled over, and so Vance was able to.
Can you imagine being that guy that people
allow
are that afraid
Venezuela-
of?
Yeah.
People are that powerful and they're that afraid of him.
Exactly.
I mean, what the fuck could he possibly do to you? Like, how's Marjorie Taylor Greene's in, Tillis? Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just leaving. Like, it's easier to leave, I guess, than to be tormented by him if you don't agree with him. Wow.
Everybody thinks she's going to run for governor, but again, forgiveness, Marjorie, forgiveness. You got to ask for it, and you got to show. You got to show that you
she's so
want it.
gross as hell.
Another thing, the White House calls T.J. Sabula. He's the guy from Michigan, not our T.J. here on the show. T.J. Sabula, the guy from Michigan at the Ford plant.
He
who yelled
flipped off
at
Trump?
Who yelled at Trump? The White House released a statement today that called him a lunatic, wildly screaming at the president. And we know that Trump responded because they released the video. Trump
flipped him off,
responded.
right?
Trump responded by shouting like a lunatic, wildly screaming expletives, and he topped it off with what? A New York salute.
He did. He flipped the guy
A couple
off.
of them. I think he gave him the double bird.
I like that, though. That's pretty good. I think that's good. Well,
Yeah, Ryan laughed.
the guy is-
I tell you.
Has raised like last I saw 700,000.
hundreds of thousands of dollars on GoFundMe.
Yeah.
I know. Okay,
Best thing
fuck
he
you,
did in
Trump.
his whole
Come
life.
on, bring me money. I mean, I would do that, But
Yeah.
the last thing that happened was now he's going to do the Insurrection Act against Minnesota. That's what he threatened today.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're
We're
wrapping
getting
up.
there. We got one more.
My producer's fucking telling me to
all
wrap
right.
it up.
Well, it was also revealed that that Agent Pinky Toe from Minnesota had internal bleeding.
Yeah.
And then it was later revealed that he had a bruise on his torso.
That is internal bleeding.
Amazingly in the same shape as his ice vest. Amazingly in the same shape as his ice vest.
Or his iPhone.
And no, that was in his hand. Yeah. And more seriously, though, what Ed was alluding to, Trump again threatens the Insurrection Act, accusing the protesters in Minneapolis of terrorism.
Now, why doesn't
How does
news
an
come out
acu-
and
how does
say,
a-
how come, listen, even everybody
does a
says how
protester
left the
view-
news is. Media's left. They're such leftists and this. Then why the fuck don't they come out and say, okay, this is fucking asinine. You know, stop all this fucking bullshit. So if the media is so fucking far left, they're not calling them out. They're not telling people that there are millions of wind turbines in China. They're not telling people that abortion at 10 months is fucking murder, not abortion. They're not telling people anything. They're just letting them do it. He just does it. You know, if he wants to do the Insurrection Act, Minnesota, he's going to do it. He wants to rip down the East Wing. He's going to I don't give a fuck about the East Wing. I'm never going to go there. I don't give a fuck. But I give a fuck that the guy that's supposed to be working for us just does what he wants. And you just don't hear anything in the press. You just don't. It's like, whatever. I guess it's another, what can you do?
I mean, I read multiple stories yesterday about the 6 federal prosecutors.
Yeah, that quit
that's
Minnesota.
There's all
Yeah.
so deep.
Of
This
the
whole
Now, that was a big
administration's
story, yeah.
refusal
Huge.
to investigate the federal agent that
Unprecedented.
you're referring to, and it just so happens that these are the same 6 prosecutors who were investigating the fraud that
and
was,
had conviction
really?
over 20
Really?
over
was-
20
Of course they
convictions.
were.
Yes.
that was
Right.
ostensibly the
Yes.
reason
Wow.
for this immigration enforcement blitz in the first place. So
Holy
I will
shit.
say that
Yeah.
you know if you want to read about the sort of dizzying logic and try and chart that,
I guess you could
course,
Google it and find
it. I mean the media is covering this stuff.
It is, yeah.
But it's
It's hard to break through
But
the
it's
news
hard
cycle.
when the number one story is of an American gets shot by an ICE agent. That's going to clog it up for a few days.
Well,
When
right.
we
And
attack
then- and
Venezuela.
hours after these prosecutors resign as to
And that's a big deal.
to send a signal. Already we have a whole other story that's going to obscure that and eclipse that.
You're right, and that's what. So,
And
and
that's the objective of muzzle velocity. I mean, it is a strategy, and it's a strategy that I think we all should recognize because certainly as a member of the media, this is what we're covering.
You know, and I feel like I've been sold a product that I'm not understanding because like just by me saying it, you know, and not really realizing like, yes, it is out there, but there's just so much out there.
Yeah, and what haven't we
that
talked about
I
in
don't
2
see
weeks?
it. You know what I mean? Like I just
3 weeks. We haven't
What?
talked about
This
Epstein, you know, we haven't talked about Epstein. That's why I said that today in a post today. I go, you know, so we're going to bomb Iran, invade Greenland, and we're going to shoot our own citizens. As long as we're not talking about fucking the Epstein files, I guess we're on the right fucking track, America, you fucking assholes.
well, I mean, the other thing I think is
Didn't win
that
the Peace Prize.
yeah.
people need a little. I don't.
participation trophy, apparently.
Well, if the FIFA Peace Prize is certainly, I think sometimes people need a little background because, when we hear the Insurrection Act, we're like but nobody really knows what the Insurrection Act is.
Yeah, well.
I mean, how many people actually know that?
Well, it's when the government has to control a local, a city or a state or something. I mean,
Well,
when
that's
they feel they have to.
No, that's kind of what you think it is, but that's really not what it is. It's
Well,
not
that's what I
like
read.
it's not like something they just put out there. It's been around since 1807.
Well, right.
Because back after the founding of the United States, there was no standing army in the United States. The army was called into all the way up until the Civil War. The army was called together from the state militias. That's why people during the Civil War, people fought with the people that were in their own state, in their own town. That's how companies and regiments were made up, and so the Insurrection Act was put in place in case they had a small scale rebellion that they needed to call people together for.
And it makes sense.
And they were able to do that. So early on in the United States, there was this thing happened, the Whiskey Rebellion. People who grew wheat got tired of being taxed, and they formed armed bands, and they basically ran the tax collectors out of their towns. We didn't have the Insurrection Act then, so George Washington had to pull together whoever he could to go out and put down this rebellion. By 1807, the presidents got tired of trying to kind of figure out, okay, what happens with the next thing happens. So they created the Insurrection Act that said the president can call the National Guard into, or the state militias into service of the federal government to go after, to put down protests and things.
Agitators.
Yes, and since then it's only been used about 30 times, which is not many in the
Was it used at Kent State?
225 years.
No,
no,
not back then.
No.
Rodney King.
But it was.
Rodney King?
most of the time
No.
it was used. It was used Rodney King. That was
Oh,
the
it
most
was.
recent one. But the Civil War, it was used during the Civil War in states that were in rebellion. It was used during Reconstruction
That's
after
weird.
the Civil War, when the KKK really got going, and they were just going out and hanging black people.
God bless their hearts.
And then during the Civil Rights era, the
Complete
Insurrection
waste
Act
of time.
was called into play so that they could go in and protect people going to school. And then in 1992, that's the most recent one during the riots, during Rodney King riots. George Bush, the first, called the Insurrection Act in to go in and to try to make peace with the people who were basically destroying L.A. over the Rodney King beatings. So
It's been used,
the issue,
but for serious stuff.
the issue there is that those were all civil rights issues.
Exactly.
Right? Those were all the American government going in, trying to protect people's rights. And now we got a guy who wants to call on the Insurrection Act to put down a problem he created. His Department of Homeland Security, his Tim Burton Barbie, Kristi Noem created this whole problem.
kind
Now
of
he wants to
civil rights.
federalize the state militias to put down the problem that he created. I mean, this it is so illogical and so stupid. I just don't understand how anybody with one sense in their brain can figure it out. I know that MAGA, they're like saying the Insurrection Act is red meat to them. They're like, yeah, we're going to get those people. We're going to get those protesters, those libs. We're going to own the libs. And if we got to kill the libs, we're going to kill the libs this time.
Yeah.
And the issue is that you have to understand your history. You have to know why these things are there so that when the president uses them, you can take it seriously. Because this is not a serious use of the Insurrection Act.
Oh, no.
This is a guy who is rehearsing for the elections in November, who is pushing every button to try to make sure that he can declare an emergency and either suspend elections or to make sure that every single polling place in every blue city is guarded by his ICE agents to make sure that not one single person that he doesn't want to vote actually votes.
Well, I mean, that's what he wants. That's what he gets. Seems like that's how it is. Well, anyway,
I think PBS needs to release the Quinnell cut of the Ken Burns American Revolution documentary.
I know. I'm like, boring. Come on. Let's talk about something funny. But anyway, I want to thank you guys. Thanks, John and Tristan, for being here. It was a nice, long conversation, a good conversation. I think we learned a lot. Media's a tough ball game these days. Everything's tough these days, and I don't think it's going to get any easier. I do not.
Let's end on a bright note. How about a song of the week? Song of the week. Song of the week. Song of the week. Song of the week.
I don't even know what that is. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, Ryan is rolling over right now. He's shouting at his computer screen right now,
Why?
isn't he, Kevin?
He's at dinner, so.
Obviously, life's my journey.
But he also, he made a few comments before we get going. He just wanted to know, how do you discern teacher, Steve? Let's snip that penis off. It's tough for the Beacon readers to see the text because the drool smears the ink. So he is paying attention.
Oh, and Steve thinks his cousin is hot.
I
cool.
don't know who said that.
All right. Well, I have a song of the week,
All right.
and that is
Let me guess, it's a
this
jam
goes back
band.
to goes back to Tristan's
the dad.
opening statement
I like the dad.
Cassidy.
about. I thought about Cassidy. It's a good one. It really hits at my heart because I really love the Beat Generation.
I didn't mean to step on you.
But I got to go with Truckin'
How
just
dare you.
because
Trucking.
yeah, because there's a line in there that everybody repeats all the time, and it applies directly to this day and age. And I'm getting older and all that shit. But what a long, strange trip it's been. And I think it feels like that's what we're on right now.
I don't think we've seen anything yet.
Even though it's been barely a year.
Yeah, we
it
haven't
hasn't
seen
even
anything
been
yet.
a year yet. but it does feel that way at this
About
point.
to get crazy.
So,
A lot crazier. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. That was a lot of fun.